What is up, guys? Welcome back to another GeekaWhat video, and in today's video we might just have found the answer that PC gamers are looking for in 2021. We've got our hands on a brand new notebook from MSI, and rather than reviewing it, we thought we'd compare a laptop RTX 3060 to a full-fat desktop RTX 3060 graphics card, and spoiler alert, the results, they might just surprise you. So without any further ado, let's just dive right into it. The biggest problem facing gamers in 2021 is getting your hands on one of these, a graphics card. Even our friends over in the console gaming land have struggled to get their hands on new PS5s and Xbox consoles because simply there's not enough chips to go around, there's not enough graphical processing units. What's more, heightened gaming demand with people stuck at home because of the pandemic, and then also of course a booming cryptocurrency that has led scalpers and miners to just go crazy for these graphics cards has created a whole world of problems. If that wasn't bad enough and boats weren't getting stuck in canals, the people who buy trainers and sell them for £5,000 have also decided to scalp graphics cards, which has led to just a pretty crap start to the year for us genuine PC gamers out there. And that's led me to turn to an unlikely source, the land of the gaming notebook. Now, traditionally, I've been disappointed in the performance of a gaming laptop, but I thought I'll put my preconceived ideas to one side. The new 3000 series is out. Let's see what Nvidia and MSI and others are really able to muster. So we've picked up an RTX 3060 gaming laptop that retails in the UK for around £1,200 or around $1,200 US dollars, and we're going to compare it to a 3060. It's pretty much impossible to find a 3060 right now for under $1,000 on its own. So something like this with a 14-inch display, 16 gigabytes of RAM, NVMe storage, and the gubbins potentially provides a really good answer. Now, there is a little bit of a but that I need to add into all of this. While the RTX 3000 cards on laptops are based on that same Ampere architecture, they're obviously not able to run as quickly as a desktop chip. If you look at the amount of cooling around our actual GPU, which sits just behind this kind of quadrant design here, there is obviously huge scope to keep it nice and cool, to run it nice and quick, to keep those temperatures super low. What's more, the power delivery on this is obviously super beefy. A power supply that goes in a desktop PC has to be really slimmed down for a laptop into a manageable power brick. So the question really then is how much of these laptop processors actually caught up to their desktop compadres? Well, I think we should probably find out, shouldn't we? Now, in the interest of fairness, the laptop was actually plugged into the wall at all times during the testing. This is because when you unplug that power cable, often laptops will slow themselves down, they'll reduce the TDP of the graphics card and the CPU to preserve battery life and just make the whole thing a bit more manageable. The reason we went for it plugged in is if you're planning to use this with a monitor as part of a gaming setup, which we think is actually a plausible solution in 2021, then that's what you'll be doing. And we weren't exactly running our desktop card off a battery pack now, were we? We kept all of our testing to 1080p, which is the same resolution as the screen on this MSI notebook to keep things nice and fair, and tested in our usual suite of games. And let's just say, the results surprised me a hell of a lot. The first game we tried out was GTA 5, and we tested at 1080p high settings in the game's inbuilt benchmarking mode. We got 118 FPS on average with our desktop card, with decent 90 and 99th percentile results. And our laptop impressed too. 104, 96, and 87. This is only a 14 FPS difference, representative of around 11 or 12% between the desktop and the mobile options, which is pretty crazy. We tested with a Ryzen 5 5600X, the fastest kind of mainstream gaming CPU on the market, and obviously we didn't want to go too silly with the processor, because you're not going to take a notebook graphics card and pair it with a Ryzen 9 5950X, unfortunately. So GTA 5 was pretty good, but what about Watch Dogs Legion, a game that allows us to throw ray tracing into the mix, something that the notebook might find harder to stomach? But let's find out. At 1080p high settings, completely vanilla to begin with, so no ray tracing, no DLSS, everything normal, we got 105 for our desktop chip and 88 for the laptop. The laptop does take a much bigger jump backwards here than something like GTA 5. But don't worry, DLSS comes to the rescue and boosts us up to around 90 FPS on the laptop and 118 on the desktop. So DLSS having a remarkably big impact on the desktop and less so on the laptop. But what about with ray tracing on, and here's where the results get really interesting. 1080p high with RTX on the desktop gave us 91 FPS, while 1080p high with RTX on the notebook gave us 86 frames per second. So we're looking around a 5% performance differential, which is not a lot at all. Call of Duty's Black Ops Cold War was also pretty positive. 110 FPS on average at 1080p high settings, and 90 FPS at 1080p high on the desktop and notebook chips respectively. So here around 20% in terms of our frame rate, but actually nothing too bad. It's also worth noting that you could jump up to an RTX 3070 notebook, get a lot closer or even beat out the desktop 3060, and really interestingly, probably do so for less than the price of the graphics card and get a whole notebook, which is pretty remarkable. Apex Legends is a game some of you esports kind of FPS players out there are going to be interested in, and this gave us 163 and 139 for the desktop and notebook respectively. When we first got this laptop in from MSI, I wasn't actually planning on making a video about it. In fact, I was expecting to boot it up, try out some games, and in typical gaming notebook fashion, be a little bit disappointed. In years gone by, you had to spend double on a notebook compared to the desktop equivalent when you get round all those cooling issues and all the, the down-rated chips and all that good stuff. But in this instance, that's simply not the case anymore. And it explains why some miners have reportedly tried buying notebooks to actually mine on. This is going to be less common. I think notebook availability will be a lot better than on the desktop chips, but something to definitely bear in mind. Cyberpunk 2077 is an area the notebook struggled a little bit more, if we're being honest. But even still, we only saw a maximum really of a 25-30 FPS performance differential, around 20 to 25%, which is very, very manageable. And we were still able to hit that all-important 60 frames per second. This is even more impressive when you consider this MSI 3060 card is their range-topping Gaming X Trio. It doesn't get any more expensive than this when it comes to a 3060, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. This card's great and actually knocks very close on the door to the 3060 Ti in our testing. There are a couple of things you do need to note though before diving headfirst and going, you know what, I'm ditching my desktop and I'm going to game on a notebook from now on. Temperatures are really, really important in the world of gaming laptops, and this laptop is not quiet. In fact, it's the loudest laptop I've ever used. So that's something you really do want to watch out for. You put this notebook on your lap and you're going to choke all of the ventilation at the bottom of this thing. I really cannot stress enough the importance of actually having decent ventilation around all these areas. Of course, while you're doing normal notebook tasks, whack this on your lap and chill out to your heart's content. But if you're on long gaming sessions, even plugged into an external monitor, I'd recommend you have the notebook on a flat surface in a well-ventilated space where temperatures are going to be less of an issue. And that's probably the takeaway from this. Was I shocked, in fact astounded, by the gaming performance of a modern gaming notebook? Specifically, this is MSI's GF65 Thin, linked in the description below. Yes, I was. In fact, I think it's fantastic. I cannot recommend it enough for the avid PC gamer who simply, like most people, can't get their hands on one of these in 2021. Does that mean I'll be leaving my PC building throne anytime soon? No, it does not. I think the enjoyment and the performance of building your own PC is still unrivaled. But is a notebook a superb way of getting into PC gaming at a good price point? This is really, really great value in today's market conditions. In 2021, yes. In fact, I think the performance for the price is pretty astounding. If you found this video useful, make sure to drop a like rating, stay subscribed for a new video we're working on right now where we found the best pre-built deals in the UK, US and Canada so you guys don't have to. Thank you very much for watching though, and as always, we'll see you in the next one.